They say it can't be done. The Ohio State Football Report getting to 12,000 subscribers before I leave Dallas headquarters this weekend. I said, I know the people that watch these videos. They're going to back me up. That number is doable at 396. We want to get to 12,000 subscribers. Subscribe now to the Ohio State Football Report by Chat Sports. Maybe you don't like Michigan, maybe you can't stand Michigan, but Jeremiah Smith wants you to know he hates Michigan. The big-time Heisman hopeful receiver for the Buckeyes had a lot to say about the team up north. We're going to get into that later. Obviously, that's the big headline right now with Ohio State, but there's plenty of other headlines going on with this team right now, and I'm here to break them down for you. Billy Beebe back with you on the Ohio State Football Report, and boy, are things just happening with this team under 10 days before they take on Texas, and news after news after news flowing with this group, and I'm excited to bring it to you on the channel once again. I appreciate you joining us to talk a little bit about what's happening. First off, the team, we talked about Sonny Styles being named the Block O captain, but there's a group of captains that has been named for the Buckeyes headed into the season, and I'm going to get into one name that stuck out specifically. First, let's roll through those captains here. Sonny Styles, as I said, the linebacker, he'll be one of them, and looking at this group overall, Caleb Downs, he's another captain. Back to him in just a second. Brandon Inniss, he's a third-string wide receiver, and yet he has stuck out as a leader to be a captain for this team this year. And Austin Siereveld, who stuck out during camp, earned a left tackle spot, it seems. He's going to be a captain in this group. And what a talented group. A group we expected, a well-chosen group by Ryan Day. But one guy has really stuck out to me from this group of captains, and it is Caleb Downs. I want to give Caleb Downs a gigantic shout-out. He came from Alabama, transferred from Alabama, a tremendous career in his first season at Alabama alone. He was a SEC Freshman of the Year in 2023, playing for Nick Saban, and I want to give him the shout-out, right? And we're gonna roll through his info down below. He was just going to be a hired gun. He was so good in that first year at Alabama. Buckeyes up their stakes NIL-wise, pay a lot of players to transfer over. Downs is one of them. A lot of guys left because of Nick Saban leaving. Downs is one of them. And it kept being said, oh, he's the Alabama transfer, the Alabama transfer, the Alabama transfer. Now he's an Ohio State captain. That's what he has earned now, becoming a Buckeye. 2 really impressive years in college, hoping for a big third one that's going to get him into a top 10 pick role in the NFL coming up. I even saw USA Today had a mock draft where he went number 1 overall as a safety. Essentially, at this point in time, Caleb Downs has gone from an Alabama transfer, an outcast, a Saban retirement leaver, a good freshman, to a team captain. They're calling him Coach Downs. Other players are calling him Coach Downs. He's going to be a leader not only on this defense, but on this team. So I have to give a huge shout out to Caleb Downs. A lot of great captains there for the Buckeyes. I acknowledge that. That's a really great group. But Downs specifically felt like he was going to be a hired gun for this team, and he has quickly turned into a really, really impressive leader and, of course, a team captain for the 2025 season for Ohio State. So again, a big shout out to Caleb Downs. We've already mentioned Jeremiah Smith, right? And we're going to get to his quote. I know that's kind of the eagerness for everybody as they want to get to that quote, and we're going to break the full thing down in just a second. And I gave you all the Caleb Downs situation, which, again, I'm really, really proud to see what he has done so far at Ohio State. But I want to know from you guys, could you pick the better Buckeye of these two guys? Tough one. I know you got Caleb Downs, type D for Caleb Downs, or Jeremiah Smith, type S for Smith. Difficult one here. I understand. Caleb Downs has made himself known very, very quickly with this group, but Jeremiah Smith, man, this is a guy headed for a Heisman, and really they're going to be the leaders on both sides of the ball, but I'm always looking to hear from you guys, so feel free. Drop down in the comments. It's D for Caleb Downs or type S for Jeremiah Smith. Look at that smile. Jon Gruden on campus with the Ohio State Buckeyes. Man, did I love seeing this on my timeline yesterday. Super Bowl winning coach, now an internet personality with Barstool Sports. And he comes to Columbus, and he's an Ohio kid. He grew up in Ohio. His dad coached, I believe, college football in Ohio, so he loves the Buckeyes. He knows the Buckeyes, and that's an iconic smile. He's getting pictures with Laurinaitis, Maurice Clarett. He's hanging out with Ryan Day, and, he's just giving that little bit of a message like, hey, I'm chopping it up with Ryan Day in Columbus, a little bit giddy about like, hey, what a great time in Columbus. And for me personally, you may kind of wonder, hey, what's the deal here? Why is this important? Why does this matter? I'm not going to pull a connect the dots situation where Jon Gruden possibly returns to coaching and does so at Ohio State, because I think he's too big a personality. I think Ohio State's filled out coaching why there's no need for him. I just love seeing him on campus. I think it's great. You get a motivational speaker, you get an accomplished head coach, you get a legend, right? That might be the biggest thing with Jon Gruden here is you get the legend on campus. I'm sure the guys were all over it and all about it. It's good PR for Ohio State. So I love seeing Coach Gruden there. I know he just noted he wants to get back into coaching with an SEC team. He said he'd kill to coach an SEC team. But he is an Ohio guy, so I think if he ever wanted an assistant job, I wouldn't put it past him to join Ohio State in like a Mike Vrabel with the Browns role, like a real outsider role, but I don't see it happening, so I'm not going to spend too much time trying to connect the dots. You just got to love that picture right there. More news, Julian Sayin. We've been talking a lot about Julian Sayin since he was named QB1 for Ohio State. We read the quote from Steve Sarkisian in yesterday's video. You can go over and check that out. He has a chance to make history in this first game against Texas, as if it weren't enough pressure to win your first game starting for the Ohio State Buckeyes, to make the most of this high-powered offense, to win in front of the home crowd. Sayin has another piece of history to make. So, got it here. Over the last 20 years, recent college football history, he has a chance to make here. When a QB makes his first start against the number one team in the country, 0-18. And not a good O, not the O-H-I-O. It's 0-18. So you're hyping Julian Sayin up at this point in time. Like, man, step up and make that a 1 in that 0 category. A 1-19 would be terrific for Sayin to come out, lead the Buckeyes. And honestly, you get that season opener against the number one team. You're the number 3 team, and boy, is this offense fully qualified to take down a number 1 team in Texas this season. So Sayin, really exciting that he has, even with everything else going on with Ohio State, he has the chance to make history in this first game. So I'm excited for that opportunity for Julian Sayin. Also excited to tell you a little bit about today's sponsor. It is PrizePicks. Football season is back, so is PrizePicks, the best daily fantasy sports app. PrizePicks is the best place to win real money this football season. It's very easy to play PrizePicks, as you just pick more or less on stat projections on 2 to 6 player lineups. If you get your lineup right, you can get up to 2,000 times your money. That's right. You can turn $10 into $20,000 with certain PrizePicks lineups. College football is back this weekend. Yeah, the Buckeyes aren't playing in week 0, but we've still got a special deal for you, as you're basically over halfway to winning a 2-player lineup by taking more than half a passing yard for Avery Johnson. Yes, half a passing yard. That's all Avery Johnson has to get on this one. And then Rocco Beck, 16.5 rushing yards. Take the over on that one, too. You can turn $20 into $60. That would turn $20 into $60. Download the PrizePicks app today and use code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineups. That's code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. PrizePicks, run your game. Link in the comment section and description to get started today. All right, time to get to it. Jeremiah Smith going bang with the quote here about Michigan. I love the context of this quote overall because it's Jeremiah Smith on a podcast with Urban Meyer, right? For Buckeye fans, that's all you could want. Those two talking, and the context around it, Urban Meyer saying, what do you think about, or how do you feel when I say the team up north? Go ahead, Xavier, prop that quote up for us. I hate them with everything in me. When I first came in, I think I made a mistake and I was wearing like dark blue, and Coach Hartline and Coach Bailey were like, you can't wear those colors here. From that day forward, I was like, okay, yeah, this is real. That's as real as it gets. That's the rivalry right there with the Buckeyes and Michigan. It's really, really special, this rivalry. And that was the one word, you see the hate them. That's what Jeremiah Smith had to say when he heard the team up north. I want to give you guys an opportunity here. Let me know what is your one-word reaction when you hear the team up north? When you hear, I'll say Michigan. What's your one-word reaction when you hear the team up north? Look, this is what the rivalry does, okay? It is so hateful, revved up, real, mean, historical, any way you want to put it. No other rivalry is talked about like this. All Jeremiah Smith had to do was go on one college visit, and he understood the hate that this rivalry can bring. Now, he didn't. He had a pretty good game. I think it was 4 for 36 yards and a touchdown. He was pretty good in that game, especially for the Buckeyes not scoring much. You got one taste of it, and he can't stand these guys. He wants to get back out there. He wants to play hard. This is a special, special rivalry that we haven't even begun the college football season, and we're getting in to a hate with Michigan from Jeremiah Smith. And, of course, you got to kind of love Urban Meyer egging it on just a little bit. And it reminded me of a great story. So I broadcasted high school football in the Stark County area of Ohio. That includes Massillon, one of the winningest football programs in the history of the United States. And Chris Spielman from Massillon, from the Massillon-Canton area, played at Massillon, and he was so good in the late 80s at high school football, he was on the cover of a Wheaties box as a high schooler. And during his recruitment, it's a famous story in the Michigan-Ohio State documentary, too. He talks about this. He tells his dad, who obviously gigantic Ohio State fan, coached in the area, big part of high school football in that area. And he says to him, I know where I want to go. And he says, okay, where do you want to go? He says, I want to go to Michigan. And his dad turns to him and he says, traitor, I'll tell you where you're going. And Chris Spielman spent the next 4 years in scarlet and gray. That's what this Jeremiah Smith situation kind of reminded me of a little bit, right? Is the Chris Spielman aspect and that same hate and that realness to, no, you are going to Ohio State. You grew up in Ohio. We don't even deal with Michigan. You're a traitor if you go there. And again, Chris Spielman, a terrific career as a Buckeye, moved on. I do want to note, it's time to focus on Texas, okay? For Jeremiah Smith, and look, he got asked that question about Michigan, so I don't want to get on him too much, like it's all he's thinking about. He got asked that by Urban Meyer, so I don't want to make that like the main thing here. It's time to move on. You have a matchup against the number 1 team in the country in 9 days. The focus should not be on Michigan. I understand how important, and we just went for however long about how big this rivalry is. Time to focus on Texas. You got the number 1 team in the country, and one last time, Smith, just answering the question, but the Buckeyes need to shift their focus, whether it's Jeremiah Smith, whether it's Ryan Day, whether it's, anyone else, Julian Sayin, especially at quarterback. It's time to move on to the Texas Longhorns. If they're asked about Michigan at this point in time, I would say, hey, we've got Texas in 9 days. We're going to focus up, and we're going to get on that. We've got Texas in 9 days on our live watch party. We're going to be reacting to the game. I'm going to get to flex my play-by-play skills a little bit. I'm going to get to hear from everybody who watches. You can leave a comment. Be sure to subscribe, hit that notification button, because when we are live for Ohio State and Texas, it's going to be a monster live stream, just like it's going to be a monster game here on the Ohio State Football Report.